Well, hello, boys. How's it going? Sorry for keeping you waiting there. I was distracted. I was actually setting up some sounds for tonight's rehearsal. And when you get into editing sounds, how it goes, you kind of lose track of time. And I glanced at my watch and I noticed I was a little bit tardy today. So I apologize for that. How's everybody doing today? I hope everybody's really well. It's been a while since I've been on the Sunday side of things. So I'm hoping you guys were not as confused as you were last week. Last week I did an evening show. It was on Saturday. Just because of time constraints, I wasn't able to make it on Sunday morning. So I decided to do an evening show for those of you who, can't always come in on Sunday. So I figured I'd shake it up a little bit. And I think I confused a few of you guys because there was some people that, regulars that weren't there and whatnot. But we had a few new faces, so that's always good. So today we have quite an interesting show lined up for you guys. Show number 242. We're getting up there. And, today I want to focus on you guys more than just me talking. I want to be able to have a nice conversation with you guys and see what you guys are up to these days. And just to answer some questions and things that we don't normally talk about maybe. So let me start off by saying hello to everybody, because I always feel like I need to do that just to, keep track of you guys, make sure everybody's doing okay. Gene is here. I don't know if Gene was the first one in today, but it looks like you're at the top of the list, Gene, so that's really nice. It says making coffee and grabbing a guitar. That's what I love to hear. That warms the cockles of my heart. I'm not sure what a cockle is, but it warms it. So coffee and guitar early on Sunday morning. There's no better way to start the Sunday, I think. Nella's here. Nella says the G5220 in Bristol Fog color. Great guitar. So I'm not sure if there was a previous conversation going on before I jumped on. But looks like you guys were talking about some nice looking guitars, which is great. Wayne is here, coffee and weed. He says, I'm in good morning, all you good people. So Wayne, he's in shape, ready to go. Cushman, Paul's here. Paul's has an issue, he says. He says, my service provider, Rogers, has killed my signal for hours at a time all week. Okay at the moment, but was just off minutes ago. Rogers, hey? Well, hopefully we won't have any interruptions on our end. And if you do happen to get kicked off, hopefully you can come back on right away. If not, you can always watch the rerun, but it's always nicer to have you live and participating there. So thanks for jumping in, Paul, even with all the technical issues that you're having this morning. I hope it gets resolved. I would just call them and give them a piece of my mind. Not that it's going to make much of a difference, but you're kind of at their mercy. But there's always other companies that you can go to, and if you threaten them enough, maybe they'll resolve the issue. Gene says, wish Guitar Garden would refill their webpage. I like them Fireflies. I haven't tried the Fireflies, but everybody is talking about them. It seems to come up over and over again. Eventually, maybe I'll get an opportunity to try one. I'm always looking for new potential good, inexpensive guitars, and those Fireflies certainly fill the void, I would say. Anybody here purchased one? Tried one? First-hand comments on them, maybe? And Gene says the Yamaha, the V-tail piece looks different. Okay. Let's see here. Gene says average Joe Channel said Gretsch going for 250, normally 500 at Adorama. Maybe it's time for me to get a Gretsch. Every time these deals pop up where they're really cheap, they're usually sold out. So, I'd like to pop in and take a look. Let me see. I'm gonna go in there and take a look because at that price, obviously, it's too good to pass up. So let's take a look. And sometimes it's B stock and stuff like that too. So you have to be careful when you're looking at deals like that. Let's just jump in and see what we can find here. Their website's very slow. I guess too much traffic at the moment. While it's loading, we're going to answer some other questions here. Keep track with all of the comments. David is here. He says, each time I'm surprised to hear that Adorama sells musical instruments. Yeah, because I only bought camera equipment there. But their website doesn't even seem to be loading, so let me try again. Now, I think there's also Adorama Canada, Adorama probably in the US as well. Maybe they're not carrying the same stuff, I'm not sure. But it doesn't seem to be loading today. Interesting. Let me see something here. If I go to Adorama Canada, does their website load? Wayne says, where on earth is there a void of cheap guitars? He says, they're everywhere. There's a lot of cheap guitars, Wayne, but not that many cheap good guitars. It's not even loading. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's my internet that's really slow today, but it doesn't seem to be loading. If I load up another page here, like, let me see here. Other pages seem to be loading just fine. I don't know. I'll let it run, but I think maybe too many people on at the same time, possibly. So what have you guys been up to this week? Anybody purchase any new gear? Anything cool? Anything interesting? I did a couple of bad things this week. I'll share with you in a minute. Just going through the comments here just to see if anybody has any questions instead of, a lot of people are saying good morning and that's all cool, but I want to see if anybody has any questions or comments here. Shane says UPS damaged the guitar I sent to the States. So bummed, and my middle finger feels sprained, can't play today. So first of all, I need to ask, what have you been doing with the middle finger, Shane? How did you sprain it? That's what we all want to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Of course, I guess we all feel bad for the damaged guitar. There's nothing worse than shipping something off to somebody and then having to deal with damaged goods. Now, did UPS give you any kind of an excuse or any kind of resolution on that? Are they going to cover the damage? Are you basically at a loss now for that guitar? What's going on? I know it's not fun. Luckily, I've never actually had that issue. Never actually had to deal with damage that, for gear that I shipped out. I've received stuff that was damaged, but I've never actually sent out stuff that ended up getting damaged. I was kind of lucky, but on the other hand, I don't really ship all that much out. I try to deal local as much as I can because exactly for that reason, when you ship stuff out, you never know what kind of condition it's going to get to the other person on the other end in. I swear sometimes these guys in UPS, it seems like they drop kick the packages, You look at the boxes when it gets to your door and you're like, how the heck did it get in such bad condition? You can plaster fragile stickers, all over the box and stuff like that, but it doesn't usually help. My suggestion, if you can, double box everything. Make sure there's plenty of bubble wrap around the guitar before you put it in the first box, then double box that box if you can. That's really the only way you're gonna get something in one piece on the other end. It's just very, very odd. But it costs you more because then you have to put everything in bigger boxes, and overall the shipping costs you more. The box is heavier, all that kind of stuff, yada yada. So at the end of the day, it's still a big hassle. Steven's here. Hey, Steven. What's going on, dude? He says he picked up a couple of no-name instruments and a pair of glary hard cases for them. They will both be mod platforms for me. So what kind of, or what style guitar? Even if they're no-name guitars, what style are they? And what do you intend to do? What kind of surgery is going to happen on those guitars? I'm curious to hear what you're planning on doing on those things. Searching for Tone says he owned one Firefly, bought two more for reviews, but their drop process is a bit annoying. Why is that? Searching for Tone. What do you mean it's annoying? What's interesting? Music and Gear says we crashed the site, Tony. Yeah, probably. It can't handle more than one person on the site at a time. I don't know, but it's not active, so I don't know if it'll come back. Shane says hard to find a double box for a V. Yeah, I know what you're saying, man. Sometimes UPS sells boxes. You know, they have different size boxes, but they sell them for a lot of money. So it's I like to hold on to, when I order a guitar or whatever and they come in boxes, I like to hold on to the boxes. I just open them up with a knife and just keep them open and available in case I need to ship something out. I don't have to look for a guitar box because they're hard. It's hard to find a good guitar box. Shane says 2 gaping holes in the top and bottom of the box. Man, maybe they used a forklift to lift it up and just jammed right into it. Who knows? Yeah, it's really sad when you see stuff like that. I mean, you pay so much money for shipping, you'd figure UPS and FedEx. And I have a feeling, my opinion is that FedEx takes a little bit better care of stuff than UPS does. Don't take it with a grain of salt. Again, I haven't really had that much experience, but I have a feeling that UPS is a little bit more delicate on their stuff. Gene says reviews on the new Fenders all over the place. Most hate them. Yeah, I spoke about that, Gene, a couple of weeks back. I talked about that. I gave you my opinion on that. I just felt that Fender was trying to pull a fast one on us. They're trying to lower the tier. You know, what used to be the standard now is basically a Squire. You know, and they're kind of making you believe that's the new entry level for the Fenders, but it's really not. And I have no inkling, no intention of buying one of those. You know, I just from the reviews, just from what I see on the internet, I can already tell it's nothing more than a Squire, and probably not even one of their better Squires. You know, the classic vibe stuff I can get behind and I like, but you know, I don't know, the new ones don't do it for me. So Steven's celebrating. He says, I have hot water. Took my first shower here last night. Felt great. Back to the gear. I got an HSH 6-string with a trem and 4-string, excuse me, long scale bass. Both will get inlays and updated gear. That's cool, man. Well, if anybody can do a great job with the inlays, it's you, man. I still have the Addicted to Gear little wooden inlay logo you made for me. It's right here off camera. And it came out really great. So I'm sure it'll be a really cool project for you to work on, man. Pretty satisfying. Time Surfing Alien says fragile stickers don't work. Put an indestructible sticker on it. I would put something else on there, like explosive or something like that, you know. Maybe that'll make him pay attention. I'm not sure. Searching for Tone says Firefly, they drop on website not regular basis. Pull things on and off to avoid gougers. Pictures aren't accurate, and sometimes they send you the wrong guitar and offer you a $35 I guess a rebate to keep it. Yeah, I'm not that pleased hearing that. One thing I really get miffed about is if I order something and I don't get exactly what I ordered. That's something that really pisses me off. It's happened to me before, and if that happens and if they don't make it right, I won't deal with companies like that anymore. It's happened to me before. I mean, you're buying something based on a description and the information that they're presenting to you, and you're making a educated purchase, and you expect to get what you bought. And then if it's something completely different or something that's not what was represented in the photos, like, nah, that's not for me. So I'm playing this guitar today. This is an Epiphone inspired by Gibson SG with a little modification. This is a Tone City bridge that I put on here. It's actually not a bridge, it's a tailpiece, because this guitar doesn't actually have a bridge. That's why I bought it with the P90s. And I was just playing. I was basically spending some time programming and tweaking the sounds, because today I'm gonna go light. I decided to take the Trident, the new X Trident that I have right here, and what I like to do when I program my sounds, because this is a relatively new unit that I reviewed on a video not long ago. By the way, excellent little unit, very, very handy. There's not much I don't like about it, to be honest, and one of the big selling features for me is that it's small, so I can easily put this in my backpack. And so I'm going to take this little guy with me tonight, and what I like to do is I like to program my sounds. The way I do that is I plug this guy into my computer USB, so I can actually hear the backing tracks or the songs that we're going to be playing, the songs that I need to practice in my headphones. Then I try and match up the sound, using the software, because it's a lot easier than tweaking the buttons. And I try and get it to sound as close to what I'm hearing in the headphones, through the unit. But then what I do is to make double sure, I plug it into, you can see the unit, the little head rush speakers here on the little stool. You might not be able to see it because it's turned around, but it's this guy here. Yeah, so that's an FR speaker that I have, that I take with me, and that's what I'm going to be playing through tonight. So I'm just going to bring a guitar. I'm going to put in the little Trident and maybe an additional pedal into my backpack, grab my guitar, and I'm off. That's what I'm bringing. Sometimes I'll bring a head, then I have to bring my big heavy pedal board. Sometimes I'll bring the Fractal. But I like to travel light, so I'm going to give this one a whirl tonight, because I haven't had an opportunity to try it in a live scenario, I mean. But it's really cool. The only thing I don't necessarily, well, not that I don't like it. One thing I think they could do better, all of the options, like you can turn on and turn off reverb, delay, modulation effects, and other effects here, but there's no easy way to turn on and off the drive pedal. So that's one of the disadvantage with the unit. I don't know if they're going to make an update to that on one of the firmware updates, but it would be nice to be able to turn on and off one of the drive pedals. But to get around that, I can just bring my own drive pedal and plug it into the unit and to the send and receive inputs in the back, so I can easily remedy that, but when you go to the boost mode here, it gets you into the drive area of the tone, so you're able to do a lot with it. So Steven says he's going to be posting a lot of videos after he gets the heat going. Should be up and running by the end of the week. I know how that feels, Steven. I'm having an issue with my hot water tank. I'm going to have to change it soon. So hopefully it doesn't crap out on me before I get an opportunity to do that. But it's always fun to have to do little things like that around the house. So Rick is here. Hey Rick, what's happening, dude? He says, picking up a Dean acoustic cutaway. The perfect acoustic for general nuding and looks great to boot. Congratulations, man. It's always great to have an acoustic by your side when you feel the urge. Is that your first acoustic guitar, or is that something you're just adding to you know, maybe the herd? It's hard to stop at one. I have my 12-string acoustic over here by my side here, in case, you know, you get the urge to play the 12th string, but I don't play it all that often. Music and Gear says classic vibe, good bang for the buck. Indeed it is, yeah. I've had a few of those classic vibe guitars, and none of them have actually let me down. Yeah. Shane says the classic vibes are vintage spec, while the new Fenders are modern spec. Yeah. That's one of the main differences between the two. It all depends what you're into. Hey guys, before we go on, I always forget. If you don't mind, give us a thumbs up. Would appreciate it, man. Always helps. And don't be shy. If you have questions, guys, put a little question mark before your question so I know that it's for me, okay? I'm leaving more space in the show today so you guys can ask questions. I want to encourage you guys to participate. Sometimes I just do all the talking and then it gets a little boring, at least for me. At least this way you can ask questions and we can exchange information and make it more fun. Hervé's here. Hey Hervé, big hello from France. Very instructive channel. Thank you. Hey, thank you for coming on board. Hopefully you'll become a regular. A lot of regulars here today. So Rick says Scott at St. John's Music in Winnipeg is the Zen master when it comes to inlays. So if anybody's looking for someone to do an inlay job. So Alonzo, hey Alonzo, he says he tried out the new Fender Strat and Telecaster. Both felt and played really nice to me. Much better than my Squier, just saying. So then we have a happy customer right here. There you go. So maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Maybe I shouldn't say anything till I actually get an opportunity to play one in the store. I'm simply going off what I've been seeing on videos. That's it. I haven't had the opportunity to try one in real life. So again, like I said, take what I say with a grain of salt. I might, you know, change what I'm saying after I actually had a chance to try one. Goats on the Roof is here. Greetings from Athens. Hey, man. Nice to see you, dude. Paul says what drives him nuts is that the carriers charge $60 to do custom clearance when the duty is $0. Yeah, man. I've always had an issue with all of those charges that, you know, sometimes they come to your door and they're like, oh, or you get a message saying you owe X amount. And then if you ask them, well, how did you come up with this amount? Then they say, oh, there's a formula. Okay, where's this formula? Nobody's able to explain it to you. So sometimes I don't know where they're getting these numbers from, but it doesn't make too much sense. And it's always a surprise when that happens. Nella says he has the NuX Atlantic delay and reverb pedal. It's excellent. Thank you for that, Nella. Always happy to hear first-hand reviews and feedback on pedals and whatnot. And Gene says, I love a good head rush. Me too, man. Me too. David says, excellent compact rig. I'm trying to get it as compact as I can, David. As a matter of fact, I did a review. I posted a video on this guy. Speaking of compact, this one's even more compact than the Trident. I don't know if you can see this. This is the Legato Tank G. I reviewed this the other day and I posted a video on the channel. I don't know if you guys had an opportunity to see it. Very surprising unit. Thing's really inexpensive. And for the price that you're paying, it can do an awful lot. And I wasn't expecting all that much from the unit because, you know, I've been bitten before where you get something that's inexpensive and then it just falls short. But I posted the video the other day. If you want to see it, it's complete with sound samples and everything. You know, a surprising, very compact little unit that has its place. If you're ever stuck, you know, you can throw this in your backpack. Like, let's say you're going with a rig and you want to have a backup. Just throw this in your bag. You don't even need cables because it's battery powered. You know, XLR could go straight to the front of the house. An excellent backup if ever you need it. Plus, for people who want to practice, you know, practice silently and whatnot, a lot of people end up getting a Spark or some other you know, Bluetooth speaker combination thingy, which is quite expensive. This thing, I think, probably sounds just as good and is probably less expensive and has more features built into it. So it's a good option, you know, something that you might scoff at initially. By the way, this one, I mean, the brand is Legato. But there's actually other brands that make exactly the same thing. So the Legato is they probably just, you know, private label for a bunch of different brands. But Legato is the one that I got, but I've seen them under different names. Okay, we got a couple of questions. Let me jump in here. All right, so let's see here. Jeff says, I had a good guitar week, a Waza TAC core, a Gordon Smith Blackguards, which is a custom-built Telecaster, and a JHS Morning Glory. Wow. What was the occasion? I mean, it seems like you grabbed quite a bit in 1 week. Was that... did you get an early tax return or something like that? It's always nice to be able to grab some stuff when you're, you know, there's no better pick-me-upper than new gear, I think. If you're ever feeling down, you know, grab a pedal, grab something. It doesn't have to even be expensive. It makes you feel good. Am I wrong? Am I alone? I'm not sure. Hello, is this thing on? Testing. Shane says, ever experience pain on your fretting hand? Tips to avoid it. Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. I've had various things happen. Arthritis. That's something that's not fun in the fingers. Sometimes I get these weird pains in the fretting fingers. I don't know if you guys ever get that, like exactly where you hit the string, where you fret the string. Sometimes it becomes like super sensitive, like almost like it's a nerve or something inflamed, and it's actually painful when you fret a string. Has that ever happened to you guys? It happens to me from time to time, maybe if I play too much or whatever, but that never feels good. And sometimes you get the repetitive stress on your hands, and you can feel it, like, you know, certain things, like putting your fingers in certain positions, whatever, just causes pain. What I can recommend, warming up definitely helps before you start playing. Just like when I say warming up, just, you know, if you have one of those stress balls or even Play-Doh, plasticine, whatever you call it, that'll work too. Just take it and just squish it in your hands. Just like, you know, move your hands, get those muscles warmed up, and that usually helps relieve the tension as much as possible. But if you're feeling any kind of like extensive pain, I would say like rest your hand. Don't overdo it, because sometimes you try and push through the pain, it just makes it worse, you know. But you can definitely try to just get those fingers moving on a regular basis. Keep your hands warm. Sometimes even like warm water, just running warm water over your hands and doing the exercises will make it feel better. Rico wants to know if I looked or tested my hot water heater elements. Super easy to test and to replace. Rico, my hot water heater works on gas. It's not electric, so it doesn't have the same type of elements in there. Yeah. Welcome to the plumbing show. Hey, I never said we don't go off on tangents. We definitely do from time to time. Music and Gear says, Tony, do you have the FM3 or FM9? Thinking about the long saving time on an FX3 rack. What are your thoughts on yours? Good question. I have the FM9 Turbo. I ordered that a while back and I had to wait a long time to get it. This was when they had an extremely long wait time. I felt I was never going to get this thing. I was on a waiting list for the longest time. But actually when it came in, extremely happy with it. Sounds are really good, but there's a steep learning curve to it. So if you're not comfortable with that kind of environment, you might feel frustrated. You're going to have to do a lot of reading and a lot of researching and maybe visit a lot of forums to figure out some things. But overall, the unit is very, very powerful. Sounds great. There's not much you can't do with it. And the more you learn how to use it, and I'm still scratching the surface, the more you know how to use it, the more you can do with it. And it's really, really flexible. It's almost like it's made to be customized as much as you want. Whereas other units, you know, you're very limited in what you can do with it. So if you have the budget for it, I would say definitely go for the FM9. You're going to enjoy it for a longer period of time, I think. The FM3 is good too, but it's a little bit more limited in what it can do. Hope that helps. So David says, I guess the new X Trident doesn't have an OD distortion section on the board. You can only set the overdrive with the app. Kind of, yeah. That's kind of the limitation. Like I thought they had fixed that in the app. I thought they had done it so that you can the effects block, because they have an effects block, could also you can also put in a distortion in there, but you can't. See, the effects block in the unit has a red compressor, a K compressor, studio compressor, Dr. Q, a wah, pitch bender, and harmony. So there's no option to put any kind of drive in there. So that's the thing. So you have to kind of set it in the patch and then switch between. But what I do is, by the way, guys, now that we're on the subject, I might as well show you. I did something bad too this week. You're not the only ones. I ended up buying this. Let me unplug it because it's actually plugged in right now. Oops, sorry. I got one of these. I wasn't expecting to buy it, but I ended up getting, I got a good deal. So this is the Seriatone Centura. Now I know I was talking quite a bit about buying the Behringer one, but when a good deal comes around, you gotta grab it, right? So that's what I did. And I haven't really played around with it all that much yet. I'm still exploring it, but I'm going to be taking it with me tonight so I can actually try it out in a live scenario. Now, I plugged it into the Trident just so that I can see what it sounds like going through a digital unit, which is kind of not the best way to run it. But in the send receive, now I have that guy. So if I take this sound, which is kind of like a deluxe, kind of a deluxe sound. So if I kick in the unit, actually, I think I plugged it in backwards. Give me a sec, guys. Sorry. I think I did that too fast. Did I plug it in backwards? No, I didn't. I had it the right way. Too much stuff here, guys. Too much stuff on my desk. All right. There we go. And the output is off. Now you're going to hear some noise, but... So that's off. It sounds pretty good, even going through the modeler. I can't wait to try it live with a real amp, but tonight I'm going to be using it as my clean boost or my drive, just because it's going to be easier to plug it in and use it that way. Now, I don't know if any of you tried the Stereotone version of the Klon, but it's quite a nice little unit. I'm quite pleased with it. I have a few other clones. I'm going to be doing a shootout with all of them and comparing them side by side. I basically want to see which one will end up being the keeper. But so far, this one sounds really good. There's not a huge amount of gain on tap. Some of the other ones that I have, like the Wampler Timness and one I built from Stumac, has more gain. I also have a Nu X pedal that's supposed to be kind of a clone of the Klon as well. More gain on tap, but it really sounds really cool. Music and Gear says, is that analog or tube, Tony? Is what analog or tube? The pedal? Are you referring to the pedal? There's no tubes in the pedal. David says, my Boss ME90 has a dedicated OD section that you can switch on and off with a foot switch. Yeah, this one doesn't. Unless I'm missing something. You can plug in the external foot switch. Maybe I can program it to the external foot switch. I don't think I can, though. I'll just use the external expression pedal for my wah and whatnot, you know? So Nella says, what do you think of the Not a Klon? Bought one when they first came out. I think it sounds good. A lot of the clones sound good. I don't know, how picky somebody would be, but I'm sure they all will get you in the ballpark. It all depends on how finicky you are with the sounds. If you really want something like truly on the button, you're gonna have to dish out for the real thing. But I've seen shootouts with this one and the real one, and they're switching between. I can't tell the difference. So Music and Gear, the pedal is not, there's no tubes in the pedal. It's just a regular clone. Hey, JP's here. Hey, Jean-Pierre, how are you, man? He wants to know, how old were you when you played your first note on a guitar? I was pretty young, man. That goes way back. I think the first time I actually touched the guitar, I was probably 8, maybe 7, 8. But not like playing seriously or anything like that. It was just a guitar that we had lying around in the house. My cousin had loaned us a guitar, which was kind of like almost like a classical guitar. Not even a classical guitar. It was kind of like a really cheap knockoff of a classical guitar, nylon strings, really fat fretboard, hardly playable. But it was lying around the house for a long time. It was loaned to my sister, and I just picked it up and started playing around with it. I was curious and started playing a little bit, but not very well. Like I said, the guitar was hardly playable anyway. And then after that, I was enticed by an acoustic guitar that one of my neighbor's brothers had. And every time I'd go over to his house and we would play, different games and car games and stuff. I was young at the time, early elementary school. I was more intrigued by the guitar in the corner than his cars and Hot Wheel collection. After a while, I just gravitated to the guitar, and I would always end up taking the guitar and strumming it a while I was there. So I guess that was the early signs I would be interested in guitar. Hey Zach, good morning to you, man. What's happening, dude? Gene wants to know what's the difference between analog and digital technology. Oh, that's a great question. Now we're getting deep into the philosophical discussions here. What is the difference? Beats the heck out of me. Maybe someone that is smarter than me can answer that question. Basically, it's just how the sound is processed, within the unit. An analog pedal, is basically a smorgasbord of components, right? And the components are going to be, resistors, capacitors, wires, pots, all that kind of thing. And basically, the signal goes through the circuit, and comes out the other end, giving you some kind of a sound. With a digital unit, it's processed digitally. You have components on your board similar to what you would have on an analog pedal, but most of the processing is done by a CPU or a chip. So all the emulations are digital emulations. It's not analog. So the signal goes in, gets modified by these chips and CPUs, and comes out the other end sounding like something. But it's a whole different process of the way the sound gets filtered through the units and the sound gets created. This is kind of like the down and dirty quick explanation. If you want to get more technical, you can easily jump online and look at all the the technical lingo of what the major differences are. But basically, when you're talking digital, you're also talking resolution, 16-bit, 8-bit, 24-bit, and it even goes beyond that now. Where when you're looking at an analog device, there is no bits. It's all just analog, So the digital stuff is becoming very, very good today. And I think as time goes on, and as the price of these CPUs and chips come down and they become more powerful, and they trickle into these devices, there will come a time where they will virtually be indistinguishable. In tone, in feel, it could be a different story. Hope that answers your question. JP wants to know, and you got hooked right away. I would say so. I mean, ever since I touched the guitar when I was young, it just spoke to me, It always intrigued me. I don't know what it was, but it's the type of thing that I just started playing and never stopped. So, and I didn't realize at the time that was happening, but it's almost like you pick up the guitar and then you start making noises with it, and they start off being very bad noises, and then slowly you start getting a little bit more comfortable with it, and you're starting to make sounds that kind of sound a little bit like something. And then, if you keep going, then it's almost like, hey, I can maybe eventually get a decent tone out of this thing. So it keeps you going. And it's the type of thing that you never stop learning, It's almost like chess. You can play chess badly, and you can try to master it for your entire life. You never stop learning. And same thing with an instrument. I think that's why it's kept me going and kept me interested all these years. Music and Gear says, my first guitar was a Sears catalog guitar. Strings were set to the next zip code. That's one way of working out the fingers. I've had a few of those guitars in my time as well. They're great for slide. So Steven says, digital signals are either on or off. Analog is a sinusoidal wave. So there you have a little bit more of a technical explanation from Steven. Davis says, I really like mine. By far the easiest modeler I have used, but also feels amp-like more than the mid-level modelers I've played. It sounds great. What were we talking about here? Just so I don't have to scroll back. Shane says, I sent you pictures of my poor box on Instagram. Let me take a look at that. Let me see that box. Oh yeah, man. It seems to me like they were digging for something in there, man. That's not just a hole. That's like well, you probably can't see it, guys, but take my word for it. It looks like somebody tried to like grab the guitar from the top of the box and pull it out. I would say more than half the top of the box is ripped off there. So you definitely have something to complain about. I would go back and file a claim, see what happens. And Shane also says, since I can't play, I'm modding my Joker Telecaster. What are you doing to it, Shane? Don't keep me in suspense. What's the mod? Are you changing the pickups? What are you working on there? Hey Charles, what's happening? Charles is here. Punk Rocket is here as well. Nella, usually, that's one of the common reasons when people pick up guitar in the first place. Chicks, right? So Nella says, I decided to learn to play because a pretty girl I knew played and wanted to play with her. Play with her, huh? Huh? Nasty guy. She wound up dating my brother. I guess your brother was a better guitar player, maybe. There's easier ways to get chicks. You just become a singer. It costs you a lot less. So yeah. Question for you guys. If you already have an amp that sounds like a Marshall, and you're aiming for the JCM 800 sound, would you buy a JCM 800 or, something that is designed to be a JCM 800 like the Studio series? Or would you just buy a pedal and try and just get it to sound JCM like? I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who has a nice collection of gear. And he's got a few Marshall amplifiers, but not a JCM 800. So he's telling me that he's searching for a JCM 800, which right now on the used market, they're still popping up, but they're expensive. I've seen a couple in the 2000 range and more. So he's thinking about buying one. So I'm like, well, dude, why do you want to buy a JCM 800? You already have a Marshall. All you got to do is get yourself a pedal that pushes that sound a little bit more, and you'll be in JCM 800 territory. It's not going to cost you $2,000. As a matter of fact, Marshall just released some of the Marshall pedals, and I believe one of them is the JCM 800 version. So, get a pedal like that and you're in business. So I don't understand the logic sometimes when people they're willing to spend so much money. I get getting the real thing. I understand Nothing beats the real thing. But the JCM 800, although it's a fantastic tone, and I've had one, I know how loud they get, and you really have to crank them to get them into the sweet spot. So they're great when you can crank them, but many times you can't anymore. So you're probably better off just getting a pedal, you know. So I'm trying to make him understand this, and he's steel manning the argument, and he's not buying it, and he wants to really go the full thing. But I'm thinking, like, it's kind of wasteful in a sense, because you're going to end up buying a really expensive amplifier, which I'm sure he's going to love. But, you know, how many times are you going to get to use it? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of great pedals out there that do the JCM 800 thing very well. Who's with me on this? Am I out on left field here and I'm not making any sense? Seemed pretty logical to me. That's what I would do anyway. Jeff says pedal. Vinny's World says if a few Marshalls, including any of the modern ones, then it should already be able to cover that sound. I agree. And even if it isn't, you're able to tweak, even with an EQ. You know, if you can get the drive, you know, get an EQ pedal, get it dialed in with the right EQ, and you're in business. Zach says pedal. Yeah, man. Shane says Andertons were testing the new Marshall pedals with a Marshall amp head. That kind of defeats the purpose. Actually, I saw that video and I thought the same thing, Shane. It's like, you know, if you're going to convince me that the pedals can do the Marshall thing, play them through a Fender, you know, Fender Deluxe or something. And if it can still do the Marshall thing, then I'm convinced. But if you're playing a Marshall pedal through a Marshall amplifier, Jason says Pedal Pal Effects makes incredible Marshall pedals. Indeed they do, yeah. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. And way less expensive than a real Marshall. So, David says, sounds like your buddy just wants to collect amps. He probably does, David. He probably does. This is what we call cork sniffers, you know. Jason says, Pedal Pal FX JCM 800 is my favorite. Yeah. I've seen that pedal many times. A lot of people rave about those pedals. So yeah, if you're looking, maybe I'll suggest that to him and say, hey, look, try that out first before you end up dishing out $2,000. Nala says, what's the main reason for getting an aux box? They are so expensive, which is putting me off. Nala, the real reason you get an aux box is because you want to be able to play very loud amps at bedroom levels, and you want to be able to record them easily without necessarily using a microphone. So if you have a very powerful amplifier and you're trying to keep the volume levels down, but still dial in those amps into the sweet spot, to be able to record them with a microphone, it's very hard to do in a home environment because it's going to be very, very loud. So the aux box will work as an attenuator, so I can actually play any of my amplifiers here full tilt through the aux box, and then the aux box acts as a load, so I can actually lower the volume so I still get all of the saturation at lower volumes, or I can play completely silently and then go into my recording system here and then just record directly into the recording system through the aux box. And I can also use different cab simulations within the aux box. So I can, although I have cabinets here, I can simulate these cabinets in the aux box and load more. And there's also reverb and a couple of other things that you can play with within the aux box as well. So it's a great, very versatile tool for recording. It's expensive, but the reason why it's expensive is because it works so well. Jeff says, I would go with the Victory Sheriff if he desperately wants an amp. Yeah, but why would you go for the Sheriff if he really wants a JCM 800? Why would he take a substitute? Are you suggesting that, Jeff, because it lower volume? But I don't think he'd be happy with an amplifier that's not a JCM 800. You know what I mean? I think he'd rather get the JCM 800, even though it's extremely loud and not very easy to use in a home environment. I think he'd be more happy getting one of those than a Victory Sheriff, which is kind of like a simulation. Paul says the new Marshall JCM 800 is the best of their 4 releases. Which one are you talking about, Paul? Are you talking about the full-size JCM or the studio version? Punk Rocket says, I use the Glove Electro Harmonics pedal. Yeah, that's another option. Rick says, totally agree with a good platform and pedals from the manufacturer, e.g. Rev, Marshall, Vox. You'll save a ton of money. And Steve says, Tony, it's because sometimes people think no one could crank an amp and make it loud because they can't at home. They think everyone can't. That's true. Some people can. If you have an isolation cabinet or a garage away from the house or something like that, you possibly can crank one of those JCM 800s. But let me tell you, man, they're loud. And I know my friend and I know his situation in terms of, his house and layout and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think he's going to have an easy time playing that pedal full volumes unless he gets an attenuator. Paul says the Pedal Pal JCM Gold version 4 is to die for. So maybe I got to put that on my birthday list. Yeah. Cool Tunes wants to know if I have any Ibanez guitars. Not at the moment, Cool Tunes. Not one, believe it or not. My very first guitar was an Ibanez guitar, and I did own a few over the years. But right now, currently, no Ibanez guitars. What did I have in terms of Ibanez guitars? The first one was a Roadstar 3. I had one of the AZs. I had an RG Ibanez guitar. I had a Gem. I think the Gem was the last Ibanez I got. I'm trying to think back. I think it may have been the last one, the last Ibanez that I got. Since then, I haven't really been enticed by Ibanez. Now the new guitars that they came out with are nice. I like them, but they're a little expensive. So I'm going to hold off on the Ibanez for a while. Yeah, the Roadstar was great as a guitar. I miss it. I shouldn't have sold it. I regret selling it now. Punk Rocket said, this gives a good Marshall tone without buying a whole amp. Anybody interested in getting those Marshall pedals? Anybody enticed by them? I was looking at them and I'm like, the only one I would maybe consider would be the 800. But I'm not convinced that would be the best choice. I think the Pedal Pal, in my opinion, might actually do the Marshall thing better than the Marshall. Plus, I have a whole bunch of like JCM simulations in my my units here to keep me. Actually, this is quite loud, eh? Is that loud? I can't even see where we're at with the. Let me see something here. I don't want to blow your eardrums here. Oh yeah, it's pretty loud. Let me just lower that. The master volume in the back here, if I can find it. I got it dialed quite low, but still loud. Wow. I'm gonna have to adjust it over here. Bring the master. That's better. There's a, like, that sounds pretty JCM-like. Wouldn't you say? Even if it's digital, pretty close. That's what I like about the digital modelers. You know, they'll save you from spending a lot of money just because you can kind of scratch the itch with something pretty close without necessarily having to spend a lot of money. You know what I mean? This one, I mean, this is a JCM 800. You can do the AC/DC thing with this, but it's not really the 800 that he uses for that. You know what I'm saying? You can still get by, but it's not really what they're using. I was trying to get some tones, and one of the songs that we play is, again, it's too loud. Sorry, guys, I'm blowing your eardrums. Let me lower this a little bit more. We play the... which is easy. The difficult part to get right is the delay part. That part there. And then I like to throw in the modulation. That part. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility in this little unit to get you into a lot of different tones. Believe it or not, the main chord tone that I'm using here is a Friedman style amp. Sometimes you have to kind of trick it. You got to pick an amp that isn't typically what you would normally use in a real situation. Music and Gear says, I picked up a Soldano Slow and a Friedman BE Deluxe. My hot rodded Marshall. Love both of them. Yeah, those are awesome. Awesome. I would say, you know, in many cases, dream amps. Soldano Slow, Friedman BE. I mean, what else would you need? Jason says, if it's too loud, you're too old. Not too loud for me, but I have a feeling I'm blowing your eardrums. Jeff says, the JCM 800 is a nostalgic trip for me. I had them back in the 80s. Last one was a 50 watt 2x12 combo. It sounded awesome with a Les Paul. I had the one I bought was actually covered in that like orange Tolex, red orangey. I don't know, it faded a little bit. It looked more orange when I had it than red. I should have kept it. I ended up covering it in black Tolex, which I shouldn't have done. I should have just left it. But I didn't like the orange look. But it was a great sounding amplifier. And I think I only paid it at the time. I think I paid it $900. Gone are the days when you can get a nice JCM 800, an original one, for $900. Nella says that Epi P90 SG is good, an excellent value. Yeah, it is good. It's I'm gonna say that the neck on this is nice. The Gibson SG that I have is for me, more comfortable. This one's just a little bit wider, just a smidge wider. So the other one is more, it's nicer to play. So I've been rearranging the sounds here and just trying to get the ones that I need ready to go. There's a slow one here too, actually. The slow Soldano. I use it for it's not dialed in correctly though. I try and use the drive just to push it a little bit harder. A lot of gain on top with this one. But it's got a nice rich sound to it. Doesn't sound, I mean, obviously the real Soldano will sound way, way better, but you know, it gets you there. Paul says, Tony, write down your settings from today. Your site sounds 10 times better than even without my headphones. Really? I'm not doing anything different. Are you talking about the voice or the guitar or both? I'll try and not mess it up for next time. But I haven't really changed anything. Hey Presley, gotta go to work. Yeah, man, gotta pay the bills. Another day, another 50 cents after taxes. I understand, dude. Have a good one. Rick says, I have a Roadstar bass circa 1984. It looks kind of like a Rick. I flip a lot of gear, but that one is a keeper. By the way, nice shout to Billy Duffy on your short demo regarding the JCM 800. Yeah, man. Yeah. I love that sound. And Cool Tune says, I've been digging my Edwards Gold Top lately. Such a great clean tone. I was about to grab that that guitar today, Cool Tunes. It was that one or this one. And I grabbed this one for whatever reason. But yeah, that's another great guitar. Sai is here. Hey, how's it going? Says, hi there, I was looking at your fretboard leveling video and was wondering if there is an affordable fret rocker that you can recommend that is very accurate. You can get fret rockers everywhere. You can get them on eBay. You can get them on Solo Guitar. Solo Gear has great little section for tools for doing that kind of stuff. You don't have to spend a lot of money. There's Tumac, obviously, that you can get stuff from, but they're pretty expensive sometimes, depending on where you're located. Are you located in Canada or in the United States? But they're all pretty much the same when it comes down to fret rockers, so you don't need anything too crazy. David says, with the multi-effects unit, you have a decision to make, distortion pedal or overdrive amp. It's a good problem to have. Yeah, you know, generally the selection of distortion pedals inside the Trident is not that great. Like, they don't have 6,000 pedals to choose from. What they have is they have a Katana, they have an RC booster, an AC booster, a Tube Screamer, a Blues Driver, a Morning Drive, and a Red Dirt. That's it. 7 pedals to choose from. But like I said, you can plug in whatever pedal you want in the send return and then use a real pedal if you want. So you're not really limited in that sense. Billy Duffy tone does rule. I agree with you, dude. Music and Gear says, the wife picked up a Chapman ML1 Pro yesterday. New guitar day for her. Cool, very nice. Chapman, the Chapman models are still seem to be going strong. I haven't owned one, A lot of people seem to like them. I've seen a few floating around used in my neck of the woods, but haven't really been drawn to them yet. I haven't found the right one. I think it's mostly because they often have the reverse headstocks. I'm not a big fan of the reverse headstocks. Frank is here. Hey, Frank. Hello, Tony. Better late than never. By the way, bought a few new toys and all bought in Canada. That's the way, man. Yeah, dude. What did you end up buying? What kind of toys? Cooltoon says, Tony, thanks for recommending the equalizer. Really enhances the presence. Dude, equalizer is the key. And if I look at a pedal board and I don't see an equalizer on a pedal board, that's the first thing like I'll recommend. Is like you got to have an EQ pedal on there. Even if it's just a small one, you know. A 5-band EQ is better than no EQ. But you can sculpt the tone so much better. A lot of times when you're dealing with these multi-effects units also, the key in getting the real close tone to the real thing, it's EQ, man. Throw an EQ into the signal chain and you can sculpt it way easier than trying to turn the knobs on the pedals and amplifier. It's all about EQ. Hi Ian, how's it going? Paul says, Tony, usually your whole signal has a good 20% less level than nearly all other sites. Okay, good tip. I'll have to pump it up. Shane says, thoughts on Post Malone playing a Les Paul on SNL for Smells Like Teen Spirit? Something seemed off. I didn't see that, but I heard a lot of feedback regarding the whole show. I didn't even watch any clips yet, so I can't really comment on it. I know that Paul McCartney also performed. There was a lot of people commenting on his voice and whatnot, but give the guy a break. I mean, he's 80, he's still doing it. You know, cut him a break. I think just the fact that he's still up there willing to do it says a lot. You know what I mean? I know some people were criticizing his voice, saying it's not what it used to be. I mean, dude, he's 80. He's 80 years old, man. If I can still do this when I'm 80, I'll be surprised. Mark is here. He says, hey, Tony, have you ever tried a Vola guitar? No, I haven't. I've reached out to the company to see if I can get one. They haven't really. They responded and said, yeah, eventually, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I don't never came back, so didn't get a chance to. But I hear they're decent guitars. Seen a lot of reviews on those. Shaped a little bit unique, I would say. David says, Positive Grid doesn't have a true distortion either, just overdrives and fuzzes. You need to use the amps to get a good distorted sound. A little frustrating. Yeah, it is a little frustrating. Sometimes you got to work around it. In this particular unit here, you do have some cool amplifiers. Like there's a, where is it? If I can find it. I'm just looking at the stuff on my screen here. Actually, you know what? Why am I being rude? Let me just show you, since it's on my screen, right? I don't know if I could. Can I show you? So this is what I'm using. This is the interface, right? These are the different types of amps and setups that I have here. So if you can see here. So Marshall, JCM 800, Twin, Friedman, another Marshall. So this one here, it's called the Pete's DC30. It's actually a matchless. And a nice clean sound. So this one I would use for something like Tennessee Whiskey. Now it's probably too loud and I'm probably blasting. Sorry. Yeah, I gotta turn that down a little bit. maybe that's better. So, nice clean sound and a great bass for other things. So, you know, and that was with the boost on. So this is without the boost. This is with the boost. Gets a little bit more hair. And this is no boost. And if I want to put in my clon, what I'll do is I'll take the send return, turn it on here. So I have the send return on right now. And that'll allow me to dial in. So I'm going to save this. That'll allow me to just turn on the clon. So this is no clon, no boost. This is clon. So you can, and I can, there's a lot of treble, so I would dial down the treble a little bit on like that. So you can see that you can get quite flexible. So anyways, that's how I would normally do it. So Paul says, in a couple of months, all the Chapman will be made in India by real luthiers. Are they moving their production facilities to India now? Is that it? Where are they being made now? I thought they were already being made overseas somewhere. Take it easy, Music and Gear. See you next time. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, you can move it around. And so if I'm using a reverb, I would put it after the amp. But if I'm using a drive, I'll put it in front of it. That's how I would normally do it. Hey, we had a poll question. I almost completely forgot, guys. Do you want me to... let's look at the poll question, guys. By the way, the Adorama website's still not loading. So I'm going to give up on that. No point beating a dead dog. It is what it is. So if I go to the Addicted to Gear channel, and I'll just put up the so we had 139 votes on the question, and the question was, bolt-on neck or neck through body design, does it make a difference to you? Some people prefer one over the other. Depends on what you're playing. This guitar happens to be neck through, not bolt on, but a lot of my other guitars are bolt on. So the number one, let's look at the comments first, because I always look at the tally first, but let's look at some comments here. So Gene says, I have all three: Gluten, Pocket SG, neck through, Agile, Les Paul, and bolt-on Telecaster and Strat. Great guitars. So I guess Gene likes all of them. Vinny's World says, TBH once set up properly, even Telecasters with gaps in the neck pocket feel fine. Once I'm playing and rocking out, it doesn't really matter all that much. When I'm on forums, though, then when he's on forums, there's big discussions. I get you. I get you. And somebody else here said, I put super glue on my Telecaster neck, then bolted on. Sustain is incredible. Never thought of doing that. Somebody else jokingly says, I always drop some molten lead down inside the bolt holes for good sustain. And somebody else says, if it's a fresh neck, try pilot holing, then drilling the neck at a slight angle towards the body. This cranks the neck into the body very tight as you insert the screws. Okay, that's an interesting tip I haven't tried. I know that some people that do have bolt-on style guitar necks will also sometimes use the little attachment bolts. So you can actually put these little attachments, they're usually brass, inside the body, and then like go right through the neck with these attachment bolts to give you an even better, stronger, tighter attachment. But honestly, I kind of agree with Vinny's World on this one. Once you're rocking, what's the difference? You know what I mean? But let's see what the poll says. So the poll, 58% of you says it doesn't matter. It's all about overall build and tone, which I kind of agree. You know what I mean? The good thing about the bolt-ons, if you have an issue, warped neck, broken headstock, whatever it may be, easy peasy to replace. Just take off the bolts, put on a new one. When you have a neck through, not as easy. You would have to bring it to a luthier, which probably would cost you the price of your guitar probably to get it fixed. So 58% of you said it doesn't matter. 22% of you said I prefer bolt-on necks, better snap, attack, and easier replacement. I kind of agree with the replacement thing. 15% of you says I prefer neck through, smoother sustain, and better fret access. And only 5% of you said, I'm not sure, never really thought about it. So overwhelmingly, I think people think it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, as long as the guitar sounds good, which kind of probably is the right approach, I would say. So I think we can call that one statistically interesting because overwhelmingly it's 58% of you says it doesn't matter. So there must be some truth in that. As far as news goes, the Gibson also unveiled their Murphy's Lab replica of the Eric Clapton Desiree Gears 1958 Les Paul Custom that he eventually gave to Albert Lee. Now this is a beautiful black guitar with the 3 pickups. I think you guys probably know what I'm talking about. So I guess Gibson is still hard at work at, pumping out the replicas. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to see what the price is on this thing here. They don't always mention the price, and there's a reason for that, because most of the time they're extremely expensive. Now, apparently, the pickups on this thing, 3 humbuckers, custom buckers is what they're using to replicate that PAF tone. And since there's 3 of them, obviously more expensive. Alnico 3 magnets, unpotted for open sound. Of course, they're not cheap. The Gibson Pickup Shop sells a pair of these pickups for 529 euros. That's pretty expensive, just for 2. You gotta throw in a 3rd one in there. Anyway, if anybody is interested in picking up one of these guitars, they are available. 10,000 bucks, Ken? Yeah. Actually, not to correct you, but they did mention the cost. Asking price is between 17,500 and 20,000. That seems like a lot of money. Actually, they probably mean the original ones, not the one owned by Eric Clapton, but an original custom like that is probably selling on the used market between 17,500 and 20,000 euros. Of course, they're only making 150 of them. So if you want to get one of the newer ones, the replicas, the fugazis, the homages, how many different ways can we say not the real thing? If you want to get one of those, you gotta hurry. So that's something you might want to ask your wife about to see if there's budget for. On the other hand, you can also get other things that are less expensive. You know what I mean? You don't necessarily have to break the bank. One of the things that caught my attention earlier this week is the R pedal, or the re pedal. I don't know if you've seen this already or not, but they're basically, AI is taking over the world, and it's already starting to trickle into pedals. So they have a new pedal called the Re-pedal, which is AI driven. And it basically will somehow allow you to connect and download some kind of software, I think. And it basically can do a variety of different things. I haven't really seen any of these live anywhere, but apparently you could get them from the company Re-pedal. It's in beta phase, and it'll probably soon be out. I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I'm curious to see what AI is going to do to the world of music gear. It sounds weird. I don't trust it. Vinny wants a fart pedal. Doesn't everybody want a fart pedal? At least that way when you have gas, you can just blame it on the pedal. Oh, man. And of course, because Gibson has released a new guitar, of course, PRS needs to do something to stay up with the pace. So PRS released a new guitar, and they call it the Phoenix, which is now apparently Paul Reed Smith's personal guitar of choice. Every time they come out with a new guitar, it's almost like the Apple thing. This is the best one ever. So apparently, this one's the best one ever. Limited edition, of course. Stop tail bridge. It's a beautiful looking guitar in terms of the finish. Of course, PRS are known for their beautiful woods and beautiful paint jobs and everything. Last month, PRS celebrated their 40th anniversary, so I guess this is one of the reasons why they released one of these new models as well. I'm pretty sure they're not giving them away either. I'm trying to see if there's any mention of price on this, but there isn't. But I'm sure it's going to be very expensive. I could show you a picture of it. Let me just see if I can share my screen here. And I'll share that with you guys, because it's always better to see what I'm talking about than just for me to yak. So here we go. I'm going to share that. Boom. That's what it looks like. Beautiful looking guitar, in my opinion. Awesome woods. Nice switching options. Not a big fan of the switch all the way in the back like that, but it is what it is. If anybody has the opportunity to check on the price, let me know how much these things are going for. Shane still is sticking to his guns. He says, I'm in no rush to buy a PRS. Birds are for girls, he says. They also have bats, Shane, in case you want to get the bats instead. That's another option. I did talk about the fact that Behringer is still going full tilt ahead, full steam ahead, cloning all kinds of interesting pedals. I still intend to get some of the Behringer pedals. I'm kind of waiting for the Fuzzbender. They're out of stock. I mean, they don't have inventory. I think the inventory is only going to drop here in Canada probably in the springtime. So I gotta wait to get some of that. I might get another one. I might get I'll see what they have at the time. Maybe grab something else. Depends. But in the meantime, if you're looking for affordable pedals, JHS has also expanded their budget series, what they call the Series 3, kind of the bare bones pedals, the ones that are kind of just basic white. They all look the same. They all come in the same enclosure. They've added a few more. So they've added a tape echo now, a rotary chorus, and an oil can delay. And they're all about $99. So if you want to pick up one of those, they make good quality pedals. If you want to support them, obviously, that's a good way of getting something that is going to be decent for not too much money. So you don't have to spend $7,750 on a new PRS Phoenix. That's US, probably before taxes. You can get a pedal for $99 and still be happy. The key here, folks, is to be happy no matter what you do, what kind of gear you end up buying. As long as you're happy, that's the most important part of it. All right, guys, I've been yapping for an hour and a half. So I'm thinking it's time for me to log off because I think you guys are getting sleepy and bored. And since there's no new questions coming in, I think some people have already perhaps gotten distracted with other things out there. So I think we had a good chat. I enjoyed our Sunday live show today. If you did too and you're new, there was a couple of new people here today. Just know that we're going to be live again next Sunday, same time slot, same place. And come prepared with your questions. Come prepared with, some comments on some of the videos that I put out or other things. I definitely love it when people interact with questions and give me an opportunity to try and give you what little knowledge I have and share that. Shane says, 1 more hour, Tony. I don't think I have another hour in me, Shane. Plus, I got to go play around with my sounds. Otherwise, I'm not going to be ready for tonight. That's going to require a couple of hours for sure. And maybe throw in a little practice too so I can remember how to play some of these songs. It's been a while. I'm more worried about trying to get parking today because there's snowbanks, no joke, at least 5 feet tall or more everywhere in the city. So parking's not going to be easy. This is why I want to travel light, and the new X Trident is going to help me with that at least. So hopefully I'll get there in one piece, and so will my gear. I hope I don't slip and bust a hip on the ice or anything like that. This is the beauty of having to get around town in the winter time here in Canada. This is why Canadians are tough, man. We're built tough. All right, guys, have a great rest of the week. I hope I made your Sunday a little bit more enjoyable. Thank you for participating. It's always fun to have you guys here, and I always look forward to seeing you guys. So be good. Don't get into any trouble while I'm gone, and tune in next Sunday for some more gear chat. All right, guys, have a great day. Enjoy yourselves.